Hello and welcome back to another popcorn chat video. In this video I'm going to be talking to you about Sam Mendes' latest film, Empire of Light. So this film stars Olivia Colman, Michael Ward, Colin Firth, Toby Jones. There's a lot of familiar faces in this film and I was curious to check it out because I love a lot of these actors and Sam Mendes normally does a pretty good job at his films. We follow Olivia Colman's character who works at this very sort of small independent cinema in Hastings, I think it is, definitely on the coast. And we sort of follow her story and then we see that a new guy is introduced to the staff at the cinema and through that they sort of develop this relationship and they sort of find things out about each other. They have a moment of sort of happiness and sort of finding joy, I guess, in this sort of very much small town, stuck in its ways during the late 70s and early 80s, so the aesthetic is great. And then it goes on from there, really, sort of looking at the dynamic of the cinema, their relationship and friendship, and how everyone plays their part in Olivia Colman's narrative. I was quite scared to watch this film because I knew that it was Sam Mendes' sort of ode to cinema. A lot of directors had this, we had Kenneth Branagh last year with Belfast, we've had it with Quentin Tarantino with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So it seems to be a thing at the minute which directors love to talk about their love of cinema, but I'll be honest and say that I really liked the balance that Sam Mendes had in this film. I don't think it was too, I love cinema and all the film fanatics will love this film. Like, it was nice but not overwhelming, and I think it make it a little bit more accessible compared to some of those sort of ode to cinema films, but there's still sort of elements that, if you really enjoy cinema, maybe work in film, I think you're really gonna love. So Roger Deakins is the DOP on this film, and my god, this was a beautiful looking film. The colour palettes was beautiful. He really sort of captured that sort of 70s, 80s sort of tone with the sort of, the fashion and the lights and the sort of whole interior design all complemented each other and really sort of took you back to that time, and that sort of helped to, allow you to sort of submerge into this world, which is just absolutely magical for a lot of film goers. The performances were pretty good. I think Olivia Colman was the standout in this, but that's a given, I think. She sort of had me connected throughout the film. I think just there's something about Olivia Colman's expressions, whether it's sort of this sort of downtrodden, sort of saddened woman, or she is giving these sort of really elated moments and her eyes just, you can see the smile in her eyes. I think she can do such a good job and she had me connected throughout the film, and she does a real variety in this film, and once again I think she's outdone herself in this film. Michael Ward does a really good job as well. I've not really seen him in much. I think he does a really good job and pairs really well with Olivia Colman. Toby Jones is good. He has a very small role in this, but I thought he did a really good job. And Colin Firth. I'm never going to look at Colin Firth in the same way. The score within the film was absolutely beautiful. It really sort of took you back to the early 80s and sort of, there was something about it that was so encapsulating, yet, it just sort of became part of the film. There was no realisation of, oh, the music's kicking in, it's fading out. It just felt like natural. It felt part of the film, and it was an element that I really loved and I think helped tell Sam Mendes' story. So when I got out of the screening, I think there's a lot of division in terms of opinions on this film. A lot of people just thought it was okay. I really enjoyed this film. There's something I connected with. Maybe I've just watched it on a really good day in a good mood, but I felt quite emotionally attached to these characters. I was, really interested in especially Olivia Colman and Michael Ward's characters' progression and their narratives within this. There were some elements that were a little bit predictable in some of the story beats, but saying that, I think their performances what really drew me into the film and kept me engaged and me emotionally attached to these characters, and I was just constantly welling up all throughout the film. I thought this was a pretty good film, and it just ticked a lot of boxes for me in terms of, you know, performance, direction, cinematography, music. Like, there's so many elements that work for me. And you know me, I'm very critical of every sort of element of that film. So for me, it worked. I can see why a lot of people didn't like it as much. There are definitely elements that they throw in there and they don't really develop them much. It's just sort of, this is the context of the world we're in at this point, but they don't go much further. They kind of just throw it in just to say a bit of exposition of what's going on in the sort of the state of the UK at that moment, but they don't go into it too much, and I'm not so sure about that element. But other than that, I think I had a really sort of, I don't want to say great time, because, you know, it's not necessarily that all the time, but there were moments in it I was laughing, crying, rooting for these characters, and I think this was a real delight. Go and watch Empire of Light if you think you might be interested in this film. I think you will be. It's not like a regular sort of Sam Mendes film. Don't expect James Bond, don't expect American Beauty. It's its own thing, and if you were growing up in the late 70s and early 80s, I think you'll like this film even more, and it'll make you reminisce of those times. I had a good time with this film, so I'm going to give it 4 stars out of 5. Hope you guys enjoyed my review of Empire of Light. Let me know your thoughts down below if you've seen it or if you're going to see it. You know, has this sort of piqued your interest to go and watch it? I'd love to check out your guys' views. And make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with any latest reviews coming out of London Film Festival 2022 and any of the videos you can see on this channel. You don't want to miss it. I'll see you very soon for another popcorn chat.